Daniel had been driving for 6 hours when the GPS died. He was a city man, 34 years old, an office worker from London, and he had never paid much attention to countryside roads. They all looked the same to him, long, dark, empty. He had been driving to his late uncle's farmhouse to collect some paperwork, a simple job. 2 days at most, then back to the city. But somewhere after the last petrol station, in a small, dirty place where an old man at the counter had stared at him without blinking. He had taken a wrong turn, or maybe 2 wrong turns. The road had narrowed until the hedges on both sides were brushing against his car mirrors. The trees overhead were so tall and close together that his headlights barely helped. He pulled over and checked his phone. No signal. Daniel sat in the silence and told himself to stay calm. He would keep driving forward. The road had to lead somewhere. Every road led somewhere. He started the engine again. A mile further, his headlights caught something on the road. He slowed down and leaned forward in his seat. It was a scarecrow, standing right in the middle of the road, not beside a field, not tied to a post, just standing there alone on the tarmac facing his car. It wore old black clothes, a wide-brimmed hat, and its head was stuffed with straw that poked out from the collar. Its arms were stretched out wide like it was blocking the way. Daniel honked his horn. The scarecrow didn't move. Of course it didn't. It was a scarecrow. He got out of the car slowly, leaving the engine running and the headlights on. Up close, the thing was taller than it had looked, nearly 7 feet. The straw coming from its sleeves was yellowed and wet-looking. Its face was a rough piece of sacking tied with rope, and someone had drawn 2 eyes on it with something dark. Not paint, something dark and old. He grabbed it by the post it was mounted on and dragged it to the side of the road. It was heavier than it should have been. He got back in the car and drove. He didn't look in the rearview mirror. He told himself he didn't need to. But then, at the very edge of his mirror's reflection, just before the darkness swallowed it, he saw the scarecrow turn its head. The farmhouse appeared at the end of a long dirt track, exactly where his uncle's old hand-drawn map said it would be. Daniel let out a long breath when he saw the lights on inside. He had forgotten that his uncle had a caretaker, an old woman named Mrs. Hale who had looked after the property for years. She opened the door before he even knocked, as if she had been waiting. She was a small woman, perhaps 70, with white hair pulled back tightly and pale gray eyes. She smiled at him, but her smile had something careful about it, the kind of smile that was working hard not to show something else. "You're late," she said. "I got lost on the roads," Daniel said. "Strange roads out here." "Yes," she said simply. "Come in." The farmhouse smelled of old wood and boiled vegetables. Mrs. Hale had made dinner and set one place at the table. She stood by the kitchen doorway while he ate, not eating herself, just watching him. "You shouldn't have moved the scarecrow," she said quietly. Daniel's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. He put it down slowly. "How did you know about that?" "This is a small place," she said. "Word travels." He looked at her. It was in the middle of the road. It was where it needed to be. She turned and walked toward the stairs. "Sleep well, Mr. Daniel, and please, don't go out after dark. The fields are not safe at night." She went upstairs. He heard her door close. Daniel sat at the table for a long time, looking at his food and listening to the silence. Outside the window, the countryside was completely black. No streetlights, no other houses, no sound at all except the wind moving through the fields. He went to bed with the lamp on. Sometime past midnight, he woke up. There was a sound coming from outside, a slow dragging sound, like something being pulled across gravel. He told himself it was an animal, a fox maybe. He had heard foxes made strange noises. He put the pillow over his head and waited until the sound stopped. In the morning, there were long drag marks in the gravel outside his window, starting from the field, ending right below his bedroom wall. Daniel decided he was leaving. Whatever this place was, whatever strange atmosphere the countryside and the old woman and the dead roads created, he didn't want it. He would get the paperwork another day. He would hire a solicitor to do it. He would send someone else. He packed his bag and went downstairs. Mrs. Hale was not there. The house was empty. His car keys, which he had left on the kitchen table, were gone. He searched every drawer, every coat pocket. Every surface in the kitchen, nothing. His phone had one bar of signal, barely. He tried to call for help. The call failed 3 times. On the 4th try, it connected, and then immediately a terrible crackling sound filled the line. And through the static he heard something. Not a voice exactly. More like breathing. Slow and deep, like something very large exhaling. The call cut out. Daniel stood in the kitchen and breathed. He was not the type to panic. He was sensible. There was a logical explanation for all of this. The keys were somewhere. Mrs. Hale had stepped out. The static on the phone was just bad reception. He decided to walk to the road and flag down a car. The path to the road went through the edge of the field. In daylight, the field looked ordinary, dry grass. A low stone wall running along one side. A line of old oak trees at the far end. The sky was gray and flat. Brooks sat on the wall in a long, silent row, watching him walk. He was halfway across when he saw the scarecrow. It was back in the field, standing on its post, and it was facing him. Daniel stopped walking. He had moved it last night. He had dragged it to the roadside and left it there. But here it was back in the field, maybe 60 meters away, head turned in his direction. He kept walking. He didn't run. Running felt like the wrong thing to do, like something that would cause a reaction, the way running from a dog causes it to chase. He reached the stone wall and climbed over it. He looked back once. The scarecrow was closer. Not by a little, by a lot. It was now 20 meters away at the edge of the wall. And its arms were no longer stretched out wide. They were hanging at its sides. Daniel ran. He made it back to the farmhouse. He locked the door and then locked it again, and then pushed a kitchen chair under the handle for good measure. He sat on the kitchen floor with his back against the door and waited for his heart to slow down. Mrs. Hale came back an hour later. She knocked before she tried the door, found it blocked, and called his name through the wood. He let her in. She looked at his face and seemed unsurprised. She sat down at the kitchen table and folded her hands together. "I'll tell you," she said, "because you've already seen it. There's no point keeping it from you now." The scarecrow had been there for as long as anyone in the area could remember. Longer than records showed. It appeared in a painting of this farmhouse from 1887, same post. Same clothes, same position in the field. No one had made it. No one had ever unmade it. It had simply always been there. The local people had learned over generations how to live alongside it. There were rules. You didn't move it. You didn't look at it after dark. You didn't go into the field between dusk and dawn. And you did not, under any circumstances, attract its attention. Attract its attention, Daniel repeated. How does it notice someone? We don't know exactly, Mrs. Hale said. New people, strangers, movement where there shouldn't be movement. You moved it. That was enough. What does it do, he asked.
When it notices someone?
She was quiet for a moment. The last person who moved it was a developer who came to buy the land. 12 years ago, she said carefully. He went into the field at night. We found his car still running in the morning, his suitcase still in the house. We never found him. The kitchen was very quiet. I need to leave, Daniel said. Yes, she agreed. She put his car keys on the table. She had taken them, she explained, because she hadn't wanted him going out after dark. She had been trying to protect him in her way. You'll leave before sunset, she said. It was not a question. Right now, he said. He drove fast. The dirt track back to the main road was long and straight, and he kept his eyes forward and his foot down hard on the accelerator. The hedges blurred on either side. The gray sky pressed down low. He was nearly at the main road. He could see the tarmac ahead. The wider road, the orange glow of a distant town, when the engine coughed and died. The car rolled to a stop. Daniel sat very still. He turned the key. Nothing. Not even a clicking sound. Just total silence, as if the battery itself had been removed. He looked in the rearview mirror. The scarecrow was standing at the far end of the dirt track, 100 meters back, facing him still. Daniel did not think. He grabbed his bag and got out of the car and he ran. He ran the last 50 meters to the main road, feet hitting the tarmac, gasping, not looking back. A car was coming from the right. He waved his arms and it slowed and stopped. A middle-aged couple, normal, baffled by the wild-eyed man running from the fields. Can you drive? he managed. Please, just drive. They drove. He did not look back through the rear window. He had learned that much. He never went back for the paperwork. He sold the farmhouse 6 months later through an agent, without visiting. The agent reported that the property was in good condition. She also mentioned, almost as an afterthought, that there was an unusual scarecrow in the field. It was positioned right at the edge of the property, almost at the road, as if it was waiting.